हेलो दोस्तों, वेलकम टू द साइनिंग ब्रेन। आज हम एनसीईआरटी साइंस क्लास 7 का चैप्टर नंबर 17 फॉरेस्ट को पढ़ने जा रहे हैं। फॉरेस्ट आवर लाइफ लाइन। चलिए स्टार्ट करते हैं। वन इवनिंग बोजो entered the park with an elderly person. He introduced him to his friends. Professor Ahmad was a scientist working in the university. The children started playing while Professor Ahmad sat on a bench in the corner. He was tried as he had participated in the Golden Jubilee celebration of the town. After a while, the children also came and sat around him. They wanted to know about the celebration. Professor Ahmad told them that after the cultural program, the senior people discussed the town's employment problem. A plan was proposed to put up a factory by clearing an area of the forest just outside the town. This would give the increasing population of the town a chance to get a job. The children were very surprised when Professor Ahmad told them that many people had objected to this idea. Figure 17.1. View of a forest. This is because the forests serve as a green lungs and water purifying system in nature. Professor Ahmad explained. The children were confused. Professor Ahmad realized that the children had not visited a forest. The children also wanted to know more about the forest, so they decided to visit it with Professor Ahmad. 17.1. Visit to a forest. One Sunday morning, the children packed a few things like a knife, a hand lens, a stick, a notebook, and walked together through a forest trail near a village. On their way, they met Tibu, a young boy of their age of group of nearby village, who was taking cattle for grazing along with his aunt. He was very agile, running here and there to keep the herd together. When he saw the children, Tibu also started walking along with them, while his aunt went on a different path. As soon as they entered the forest, Tibu raised his hand and signaled them to keep quiet because noise could disturb the animal living in the forest. Tibu then took them to a place at a height to show them the broad view of the forest. Children were surprised because they could not see any land. Figure 17.1. The different tree tops had formed green cover over the land. However, the cover was not uniformly green. The environment was peaceful and a cool breeze was blowing. This made children quite fresh and happy. While coming down, they got excited on hearing a sudden sound of birds and some noise from the top branches of the trees. Tribu told them to relax since it was a normal phenomenon here. Because of the children's presence, some monkeys had climbed higher up on the trees where they disturbed the bird. Animals often give this type of warning call to alert other animals. Tribu also told that many other animals like boar, bisons, jackals, porcupines, elephants live in the deeper areas of the forest. Figure 17.2. Professor Ahmad cautioned children that they should not go deep into the forest. Bojo and Paheli remembered that they have studied about forest as an example of habitat in class 6, figure 17.3. They could see now how the forest provide a home for many animals and plants. Figure 17.3. Forest as habitat. The land where the children were walking was uneven and covered with many trees. Tibu helped them to identify sal, teak, semal, sesame, neem, palas, fig, khair, amla, bamboo, Kachnar. Figure 17.4. Professor Ahmad pointed out that there are several other trees, shrubs, herbs, and grasses in the forest. The forest floor and the trees were also covered with different type of creepers and climbers. The sun was barely visible through the leaves of the trees, making it quite dark inside the forest. Here you can see the neem tree, sesame tree, semal tree, and bamboo tree. Activity 17.1. Observe the various things in your home and make a list of those which are made from material which may have been obtained from the forest. You might have many wooden items on your list like plywood, fuel wood, boxes, paper, matchstick, and furnitures. Do you know that gum, walls, spices, fodders for animals and medicinal plants are also some of the product which we get from the forest. Figure 17.5. Based on the product that we use from plant, try to fill table 17.1. One example of each plant is already given. Fill the table by adding more examples. Sheila wondered who would have planted this tree. Professor Ahmad replied that in nature, trees produce enough seeds. The forest floor provides favorable conditions for them to germinate and develop into seedling and sapling. Figure 17.5. Forest product: honey, sealing wax, wooden statue, gums, and cashew. Some grow up into trees. He added that branchy part of a tree above the stem is known as the crown of the tree. Professor Ahmad asks children to look up and observe how the branches of tall trees look like a roof over the other plants in the forest. He told them that this is called a canopy. Activity 17.2. Visit a forest or a park in your neighborhood. Observe the trees and try to identify them. You can take the help of some elders or books on trees. List the characteristics of trees that you observe, such as height, shape of leaves, crown, flowers, and fruits. Also, draw the crowns of some trees. Professor Ahmad pointed out that trees has had crown of different types and size. These had created different horizontal layer in the forest. These are known as understory. Figure 17.7. Giants and tall trees constitute the top layer, followed by shrub and tall grasses, and herbs form the lowest layer. Figure 17.6. Some crown shape. Figure 17.7. Canopy and understory in a forest. Would we see similar kind of trees in every forest? Asked Bojo. Professor Ahmad said, no. Due to different climatic conditions, there are variations in the types of trees and other plants. The types of animals also differ from forest to forest. A few children were busy watching beautiful butterflies fluttering here and there on the flowers of shrub and herbs. Figure 17.8. Forest floor. They had a close look at the bushes. While doing that, their hair and clothes had seen and thorn clinging to them. They came across numerous insects, spiders, squirrels, ants, and various other small animals on the bark of the trees, plant leaves, and on decaying leaves on the forest floor. Figure 17.8. They started making a sketch of this creature. The forest floor seemed dark colored and was covered with a layer of dead and decaying leaves, fruits, seeds, twigs, and small herbs. The decaying matter was moist and warm. Children picked up various seed and leaf for their collection. Walking over the dead leaf layer on the forest floor was like walking over a spongy carpet. Is the decaying matter always warm? Professor Ahmad suggests that the children could perform an activity to get an answer to this question. Activity 17.3. Dig a small pit, put vegetable waste and live in it. Cover them with soil. Add some water. After 3 days, remove the upper layer of the soil. Does the pit feel warm inside? Paheli asks, there are so many trees here. Also, there are many forests like this. What difference will it make if we cut some trees for a factory? Professor Ahmad said, you have read about autotrophs, heterotrophs, and saprotrophs. You have learned how green plants produce food. All animals, whether herbivorous or carnivorous, depend ultimately on plants for food. Organisms which feed on plants often get eaten by other organisms, and so on. For example, grass is eaten by insects, which in turn is taken by the frog. The frog is consumed by snake. This is said to form a food chain. Grass, insects, frog, snake, eagle. Many food chains can be found in the forest. All food chains are linked. If any one food chain is disturbed, it affects other food chains. Every part of the forest is dependent on the other parts. If we remove one component, say trees, all other components would be affected. Figure 17.9. Interrelationship of plant, soil, and decomposers in a forest. Here you can see the oxygen, carbon dioxide, photosynthesis, nutrients, decomposer, soil, and water. Professor Ahmad asks children to pick up leaves from the forest floor and observe them under a hand lens. They found teeny mushrooms over the decaying leaves. They also saw an army of teeny insects, millipedes, ants, and beetles on them. They were wondering how these organisms live there. Professor Ahmad explained that apart from these animals, which are easily seen, there are several organisms and microorganisms that live in the soil. Paheli wondered what mushroom and other microorganisms eat. Professor Ahmad replied that they feed upon the dead plant and animals' tissue and convert them into a dark colored substance called humus. You have learnt about humus in chapter 9. In which layer of the soil would you find humus? What is its importance to the soil? The microorganisms which convert the dead plant and animals to humus are known as decomposer. These microorganisms play an important role in forest. Soon, Paheli removed some dead leaves and discovered under them a layer of humus on forest floor. The presence of humus ensures that the nutrients of dead plant and animals are released into the soil. From there, these nutrients are again absorbed by the roots of the living plant, which happen sorry what happens if an animal dies? in the forest? Sheila asked. Tibu replied, the dead animals become food for vultures, crows, jackals, and insects. In this way, the nutrients are cycled, so nothing goes wastage in the forest. Figure 17.9. Paheli remained Professor Ahmad Paheli reminded Professor Ahmad that he had not explained why forests are called green lungs. Professor Ahmad explained that plants release oxygen through the process of photosynthesis. The plants help to provide oxygen for animal respiration. They also maintain the balance of oxygen and carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. That is why forests are called lungs. The children saw clouds forming in the sky. Bojo recalled what he had learned about the water cycle in class 6. Trees take in water from their roots and release water vapor into the air through evaporation. If there were fewer trees, how will the water cycle be affected? Tibu told them that the forest is not just home to the plant and animals, many people also live in the forest. Some of them may belong to different tribes. Tibu explained that these people depend mostly on the forest. The forest provides them with food, shelter, water, and medicines. They have traditional knowledge about many medicinal plants in the forest. While Bozo was drinking water from a small stream, he saw some deer crossing the stream. Figure 17.11. They disappeared into the bushes. The dense bushes and the tall grass provide animals with the food and shelter. They also protect them from the carnivores that live in the forest. Tibu then started looking closely at the forest floor. Soon he called and showed the children dropping of some animals and explained the difference between various types of droppings. Professor Ahmad informed that the forest officers could recognize the presence of some animals in the forest by their dropping and footprints. Bozo called everyone and showed them a large decaying heap of animals dropping. Several beetles and grubs were feeding on the heap and a bunch of seedlings were sprouting. These seedlings are of the house and shrubs. Figure 17.12. A sapling on a wall. The animals also disperse the seeds of certain plants and help the forest to grow and regenerate. The decaying animal dung also provides nutrients to seedling to grow, said Professor Ahmad. After listening to this, Bozo noted in his notebook, by harboring greater variety of plant, the forest provide greater opportunity for food and habitat for the herbivores. Larger number of herbivores means increased availability of food for a variety of carnivores. Here in figure 17.13, rainwater drip from trees and seep into the ground. You can see the rain, transpiration and evaporation. The closed canopy and many layers of vegetation slow down the speed of the raindrop. The roots system help water to seep down in the ground. And this shown the water table. The wide variety of animals help the forest to regenerate and grow. Decomposers help in maintaining the supply of nutrients to growing plants in the forest. Therefore, the forest is a dynamic living entity full of life and vitality. It was about afternoon and the children wanted to go back. Tibu suggested another route for going back. While they were going back, it started raining. However, surprisingly, they saw that the raindrop was not hitting the forest floor directly. The uppermost layer of the forest canopy intercepted the flow of raindrops, and most of water was coming down through the branches and the stems of the trees. From the leaves, it was dripping slowly over branches of the shrubs and herbs. Figure 17.13. They found that the ground was still dry. After about half an hour, the rain stopped. They noticed that the layer of dead leaves over the forest floor appeared wet now. But water did not stagnate in the forest. Bozo thought that if it had rained so heavily in his town, it would have flowed the drain and road. What would happen if it rains heavily in your town? Professor Ahmad told them that the forest also acts as a natural absorber of rainwater and allows it to seep. It helps maintain the water table throughout the year. Forests not only help in controlling flood but also help maintain the flow of water in the streams so that we get a steady supply of water. On the other hand, if the trees are not present, rain hits the ground directly and may flood the area around it. Heavy rain may also damage the soil. Roots of trees normally bind the soil together, but in their absence of the soil is washed away or eroded. The children spent an hour at Tibu's village on their way back. The weather of the village was quite pleasant. Villagers told them that due to surrounding forest they receive good rainfall. The air also remained cooled. Noise pollution too is less because the forest absorbs the noise of the nearby highway. The children learned about the history of the village. It surprised that the village and the agricultural field of that area were created after clearing the forest about 60 years ago. Tibu's grandfather told them that when he was young, the village was not as large as it was now. It was not surrounded by forest. Construction of road, buildings, industrial development, and increasing demand of wood created pressure on the forest and it started vanishing. He was not happy that the forest adjoining their village is not regenerating and is on the verge of disappearing due to overgrazing of animals and indiscriminate felling of trees. Professor Ahmad said that if we did things wisely, we could preserve forest and environment as well as have development. Children prepared a few pictures to show the consequences of such an event. At the end of the visit, Professor Ahmad asked children to sum up the importance of the forest. The children wrote, forests provide us with oxygen, they protect soil and provide a habitat to a large number of animals. Forests help in bringing goods rainfall in neighboring areas. They are a source of medicinal plants, timbers, and many other useful products. We must preserve our forest. What would happen if the forest disappeared? If forests disappear, the amount of carbon dioxide in air will increase, resulting the increase of Earth's temperature. The In the absence of trees and plants, the animals will not get food and shelters. In absence of trees, the soil will not hold water, which causes flood. Deforestation will endanger our life and environment. Think what we can do to preserve our forests. Keyword: canopy, deforestation, seed dispersal, crown, humus, soil erosion, decomposers, regeneration, understory. So friends, this is the end of the chapter number 17. नेक्स्ट क्लास में हम अगले चैप्टर को पढ़ेंगे. तब तक के लिए बाय. थैंक यू.